Pokemon! Pokemon's taken over the world again.
Yes.
Like it's 20 years ago. With a new app called Pokemon Go, Ian.
Which Pat hasn't downloaded.
Treat me like I'm a complete idiot who's never played it, because I have not downloaded the app.
I cannot believe you did no preparation for this.
Well, you have to explain what it is anyway.
Pokemon Go, if you didn't already know, and chances are you probably do, but here it is. Pokemon Go is a new augmented reality game utilizing Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's ever-beloved creatures, developed by Niantic, who did a previous augmented reality game called Ingress, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and that's the backbone for it. So what does Pokemon Go do? Well, augmented reality, if you don't know what it is, usually involves looking through a lens such as your 3DS or your phone or something of that matter, and seeing things in the video, image, or picture on your phone that are not actually there in real life. So Pokemon Go, in a nutshell, turns you into a real-life Pokemon trainer. And you have to go outside to play it. And as you go outside and you walk around, Pokemon will appear. You can tap on them, and just like in the game, you catch them with Pokeballs. There is no battling to catch these Pokemon. You simply have to time your throws properly, and sometimes you have to hit them a couple times to weaken them. You can use things like berries to make them easier to catch. And just like in the games, you need to start compiling a Pokedex of 151 Pokemon. The game is utilizing the original 151 for now,
okay.
Which I think is important for a later point. Pokemon Go uses Google Maps. Niantic is actually, I believe, part of Google now.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh no,
they spun off.
They
of
spun
Google.
off in October 2015.
They spun off, and they use Google Maps, and throughout the cities in the country, there are little areas called Pokestops, and then there are also gyms. Pokestops are little landmarks. Generally, at least in San Diego, they tend to be murals, painted power boxes, churches. That goes back to Ingress. Places like that where you can stop and refill yourself on your expendable items, such as your Pokeballs, your potions, your revives.
Or you can buy those with microtransactions?
You can buy them with microtransactions, but I'm going to get into why that's not really a big deal in a moment.
Okay.
Then there are also gyms. Gyms, you would maybe think are initially the initial point of the game, but you can play. The nice thing about Pokemon Go is you can play it a couple ways. Gyms can be attacked. Now what happens is if you attack a gym that is owned by a rival team.
Does that mean James as well?
No,
just gyms.
Gyms. Okay. Basically, the first time you approach a gym at level 5, you pick one of 3 teams. And the overall goal of the game is to see which team will control the most gyms worldwide. Arguably, that's one goal of the game. And to do so, there is very simple fighting. You use the Pokemon that you've captured and powered up or evolved. And you can weaken opponents' gyms. And if you take over an opponent's gym, you can leave a Pokemon there. And then if you approach a gym of the same color as your team, you can defend that gym or challenge that gym, train, and then if you're successful in your training, you can leave a Pokemon behind. And you get bonuses, you get coin bonuses and things like that for the longer that your team can hold certain gyms. So what's really interesting about Pokemon Go, and I'll come right out with it right now and say that I'm a fan of the game, is that unlike a game such as Ingress, which involves capturing points, triangulating, coloring that area,
which was done by the same company, right?
By the same company, and it's a very much a competition over who's controlling more of the world. You can completely not be interested in the gym aspect of this game and just be interested in the more relaxed and casual catching all the Pokemon aspect of it, which is very cool. If you want to get into it, you can group up with your buddies and go decide that you're going to raid a gym and take that gym down and load it, stuff it full of your good Pokemon, and see if you can hold that gym for multiple days. I remember watching almost as a spectator from my apartment, checking Pokemon Go in the first few days it was released to see if this really powerful red gym would go down, and it was up for 3 days unchanging, and then finally someone took it.
So when you have it set up to defend, you don't have to constantly look at it. It's just
no. Basically, you leave the Pokemon as strong as it is, and then it AI throws the attacks at the person who's actually playing, and you can swipe to dodge or tap to attack or hold down to do a Pokemon special attack.
Okay.
It's a very simple combat system. It's a numbers game. So that in a nutshell is Pokemon Go. It does a pretty good job of capturing the basic essence of Pokemon. There is no trading as of right now. There is no battling other players as of right now. From what I've heard from people who played the beta of this game, this is basically the beta refined and gone public. There's definitely room for improvement and additional options, and Niantic has already said that they plan on adding much more to this. What I find to be interesting about Pokemon Go, beyond the amount of people who are playing this, because everyone's fucking playing this. I watched a probably 50-year-old woman trying to catch a fucking Pokemon at a stoplight the other day. It's a free-to-play game that, as of yet, has even... It hasn't even made me think about pulling out my pocketbook to dump money into it, because the things that it gives you are in such plentiful supply that there's no reason to go and buy Pokeballs. You start with 60 of them. If you happen to live in an area that even has a couple of Pokestops near it, or if you live in a city, the things refresh every 5 minutes. I initially thought, oh, they're going to want to pull this money out of my pocket as quickly as possible. These must refresh every hour. No, they refresh every 5 fucking minutes. So if you're at a job and you've got 3 Pokestops nearby, you can just keep fucking spinning these Pokestops every 5 minutes and max out your inventory at all times. I also think it's interesting because it is squarely targeted at our age demographic. It seems like everyone we know is playing it, and there's a reason why, because everyone in our age demographic is playing it. I think it's very clever of Nintendo to take... on the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, take a game, put it on smartphones that everyone our age has, limit it to the original 151 Pokemon that we all remember from our childhoods, and put us out there in a world as actual Pokemon trainers that we're likely going to be walking around in to begin with. I think that was a very smart move on their part. It's also interesting to see, and this also started with Pokémon Tournament. There is definitely an attempt, I think, by Nintendo and to realize and recognize that there are Pokemon fans that are now hitting their 30s and 40s.
Sure.
The Pokemon trainers that you get as your avatars in Pokemon Go definitely look older than the 10-year-old kids that you played as in the original Pokemon. Same thing with Pokémon Tournament. You're playing as trainers who obviously appear to be in their late teens, early 20s. They're acknowledging that the fan base for Pokemon is growing up as Pokemon grows up too.
Sure.
So it's interesting. When you play it, you don't feel like an adult playing a game for a little kid. You feel like something that's aimed at you.
And this is important for Nintendo because Nintendo have stock in both their investor in Niantic and the Pokemon Company. So apparently, according to this report, they receive around 30% of Pokemon Go's revenue. So because of that, Nintendo's stock has shot through the frickin' roof.
Their stock doubled, and they gained $8 billion in worth in the first week.
So for all those people who think Nintendo's going out of business, which I still don't understand how you ever think it's going to happen.
We've laughed at that.
Yeah, I will continue laughing at you idiots for saying that the past few years. This is just another reason why they're being inventive about ways to make money. It didn't really work out entirely well for the Miitomo. It helped, but you have stuff like this. The NES Classic Edition is going to sell a jillion of those. So they're finding ways, even with they're lagging the Amiibo, they're finding ways besides they're lagging console hardware sales. They're thinking outside the box to making tons of money.
Nintendo is kind of showing themselves, despite the fact they always have one foot firmly and stubbornly rooted in the past, they are trying to think, like you said, more outside the box. It was shown, I believe, today in a graphic that I saw somewhere that Nintendo has now surpassed Sony's total worth,
which is insane because Sony's a gigantic corporation.
Nintendo now is worth more than Sony in its entirety.
That is nuts. I didn't realize that. Even though Sony's had some rough years.
I'd have to see the chart, and yes, Sony has had some rough years, but this, I mean, $8 billion is not a small number, not even in business terms.
Of course, that would only mean, if you get someone else to buy out your company, you could potentially make a lot of money. Otherwise, it's all stock value is obviously a theoretic based upon how much you think the money is actually making, not actually how much is actually making at the time. It's just how much people are interested in owning the stock of the company is basically what that means. It's not necessarily associated with revenue, even though a lot of times it is correlated. So, but otherwise, it's still great news. I mean, it's mainstream. I've turned on ESPN and I saw it mentioned twice in one day in ESPN.
CNN and BBC both had front page articles basically stating, Pokemon Go, what is it? All the questions you were afraid to ask. Giving people primers as to what this shit was.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And this is just an app. If you look at how many people are using this in terms of the charge of use, it's now more than Tinder.
It was more than Tinder within a day.
And it's catching up to Twitter. That's nuts.
On Android, the second day the game was out, there were more people playing Pokemon Go on Android devices than there were using Twitter.
But that's insane because almost everyone uses Twitter. It's like that's such heavy market saturation in a short amount of time. What has this been out for, a week and a half?
It's been estimated that it's installed on 5% of all mobile devices. That sounds small, maybe
that's a lot,
but that's a shitload.
Think about how many people have it. Because old people have mobile devices. Little kids have them.
Yeah, everyone has a mobile device.
5%.
5%.
Wow, I am missing out on that.
And that is worldwide, and you have to understand that when some of these numbers were taken, the game is not rolled out completely worldwide yet. Now, does this mean that we're going to see, America thrown into Poke Fever for the next, eternity? No. Obviously, I mean, I'm already predicting that within 2 weeks, we're going to see a huge amount of burn off.
I don't think it's going to be 2 weeks. I think this is different than like the Miitomo. I think this is going to have a little more legs.
Oh, I definitely think it's going to have legs.
I'm going to give this 6 months.
This is going to have a lot of legs, and I think it's going to be longer than 6 months when you look at the video game playing community.
I mean, 6 months for the mainstream craze. I think the craze is going to last.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay. Because explain why. Because I don't. I see people getting into it now, but within 2 weeks, especially the older players who are just downloading it because they've heard about it, I see that burning off very quickly.
Because with the amount of mainstream coverage this is getting, you're going to get people who never played Pokemon before say, oh, well, I saw this on CNN. And they're going to check it out. Slowly but surely they're going to get it. And it's going to feed it into itself.
Okay.
There's so many news stories out. So far, some positive, but some negative about a 15-year-old hit by a car after playing Pokemon Go. A guy was driving his car, drove into a tree while playing it.
Two dudes right around here up in Encinitas fucking walked off the cliffs.
They didn't die. They got hurt, but saying they were playing it.
After climbing over a fence that said, do not go beyond this point.
Okay, this could be its own Darwin device for people that are fucking idiots. I understand that. But I'm hoping there won't be a law or something to crack down on how this is used. The one thing that was... the only thing that really kind of didn't upset me was kind of like, ooh, they got to think about this, was reports that I guess there's a Pokestop in the Holocaust Museum in Washington. That's where it's like, okay, you really got to look at this a little bit and maybe look into some of these locations and move them or take them away.
Well,
like from certain areas.
For Niantic's part, they did launch like a day after. They were like, report inappropriate Pokestops and gyms, and we will remove them. So they are moving fast to do that.
Because remember, at the end of the day, that yes, adults are downloading this. Kids are going to be playing this a lot too.
Yes.
You don't want kids like walking into a strip club or into a seedy area of town where it's like, okay, let's be a little careful about this. I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket on it entirely, but this can be abused already. There's already been reports that I guess you can set up beacons or do something with beacons, or how does that work?
Pokestops can have lures input into them. So you can't just walk into the middle of a deserted field and drop a lure and have people come out to it. It has to be a Pokestop already. So there's a Pokestop in front of Luna Video Games. I can drop a lure in there, and for the next half hour, the rate of Pokemon occurrence increases for 30 minutes.
Have you seen increased business because of that?
Oh, no, not really, but Treg will occasionally drop one in there just to watch all the people congregate outside and be like...
Are there really those like random people walk up?
Yeah. And if you go to a place like... So to go back to Vonnie and I hanging out on Sunday, we went on like what we called a Poke date. We went to Balboa Park. Well, because Vonnie and I are into Pokemon. We always have been. We play the games. We play the card game. So Pokemon Go was something we were really looking forward to. So we went to Balboa Park to play. And Balboa Park is fucking insane. right now.
With people outside playing this?
Just people looking at their phone, asking you what team you're on. There's and it's where I feel a little bit mixed because
so do I.
There's a shitload of social interaction. There's people out there who probably don't look like they get out a ton. People are talking to other people. People are having a good time talking to strangers. Then there's also people who are looking at their phone and basically bumping into people and stuff like that. Every time my phone vibrated, I immediately stepped off the path or went to a corner or got off the sidewalk or did something before I did something else. But there are people who are just full stopping in the middle of like the sidewalk at the park to do something.
I think it's good that you have for the first time an app that's going to get people off their asses and outside and exploring.
It's got to be doing more. I mean, I swear to God, from some people, this is doing more than any other fitness app that's ever been put out.
That's good.
Yes.
The bad part is that you're still looking at your phone while doing it.
Yes.
So that's like, okay, you're still trapped to a device. Like when I go out, Frank gets pissed at me if we're out at a restaurant. If I check my Twitter every now and then or something, he gets pissed at that. So imagine Frank seeing someone walking around like this now. Like this is now we're in a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
You know.
I no, and I agree. It's good because it's getting people out walking. It's really good because it's getting people who might not be so social talking to other people.
That's cool.
It's getting people together in groups who are going out and having fun and doing shit, in a new way that they wouldn't have before. It's bad because you're still tied to a device, but it's weird to me, and this is where I wrestle with it, because yes, you are tied to a device, yet most of your social interaction from this game is real life face-to-face talking to people, social interaction. So the device, your phone, is necessary to play the game,
sure.
But we're not trapped in Twitter world. We're not trapped in Facebook. It's a gameplay tool. It's a piece of equipment that, at least as of right now, if they put in chat like I believe they did with Ingress, things will change. But as of right now, it's a tool to play a game that is still causing you to be very interactive with other people.
Or you might walk off a cliff.
So,
or in this case in St. Louis, it looked like two people used it to rob people. If they lured them to a location somehow, and they robbed multiple people. So this is, to me, this is uncharted territory where you're linking your game experience to real life to real life locations. This is why this isn't going to die off anytime soon. I think you're going to see corporations take advantage of this.
It's already been stated that much like they do with the normal Pokemon games, there will be locations where you can go to find exclusive Pokemon, and of course they will be Best Buys, McDonald's, and GameStops.
Yes, that's where I think it gets a little seedy. When all of a sudden you tie in an app game to, okay, check out, we're going to have come in for a Big Mac. You can also get this Pokemon here this weekend or something, whatever they're going to think of.
I don't want to apologize for that, but at the same point in time, that's free-to-play games in general.
It is.
Free-to-play games prey on you in all sorts of ways.
They do, but this isn't like all of a sudden, okay, come to our Best Buy to play your game better this weekend or whatever. I mean, it's smart for Nintendo. Nintendo's going to get tons of money from it. They're going to line up. All these like stores and malls are going to say, how do we get in on this? How do we get people into our shop?
Right.
Walking in, looking at their phones, and maybe buying a neck massager that I used to try out when I was a mall rat.
Right. At Brookstone.
Yeah, at Brookstone at Menlo Park Mall. Like how are we going to take advantage of it? So that's why I think it's going to stay in the mainstream, because everyone's going to try to get their paws on this and get their hooks in. How are we going to capitalize on this? I can see that happening the second half of this year.
I do want to point out one thing, just because it seems to be a concern that everyone's been having. There was a chart, an infographic that was released today. The game's really not a huge drain on your data plan. So people who are like terrified that this is going to kill your data plan, it's like nothing. Okay. It's like the average long play session is like 6 megabytes of data. Even if you have a 2 gig plan, that's like nothing.
You heard it here first. Ian guarantees you won't go over your data plan. If so,
look it up.
Ian's going to offer to pay your overage.
Look it up. But it's gotten so crazy. Did you see? T-Mobile is now offering Pokemon Go plans with unlimited data for a year.
I mean? It took 2 weeks from them to put it out.
Not even. 3 days. 3-4 days. So yeah, I mean it's big, and
I'm gonna get sick of this before that I've been playing it.
I'm not. I know lots of people online are. I believe Billy, within 24 hours of the Game Chasers, was like, I'm fucking done hearing about this shit. Me, I'm I'm happy because I fucking love Pokemon, and to me, I'm not even like this. I can't pull this hipster get out of my yard 50-year-old woman crap. Like, to me, it's fun hearing people talk about it.
It's fun.
Will it get annoying at some point? Maybe. Do people need to learn better etiquette and not fucking stop directly in front of me so they can catch yet another Pidgey? Yes, but
I am afraid to talk to this with Frank. I had to break the news that this exists. I am afraid he's gonna flip the fuck out because he's already on the edge of I hate smartphones and this is gonna be like holy shit. He's gonna be like augmented reality. What the fuck is that? This is reality. This is augmented.
I can go outside and use my binoculars to see real birds. That's reality.
I can see the red-breasted hummingbird. That's my augmented reality. Here, have some of this. This is augmented reality.
Yeah.
All right.